Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies and Man once again, and today we're going to be doing another movie review, which I haven't done in a while, I don't think. And today we're going to be looking at John Carter, missing the meaningful part, which is John Carter of Mars. But this is an old movie, it's from like 2012-ish. At least that's when I remember seeing it in the theaters. But I'm not sure if it was a rerun or if it was actually during the release of it. And it might not mean much to have a review over an old ass movie, but I think it's meaningful because I want to talk about it in the sense that no one talks about this movie, and it's really good, and it's also an exemplary an exemplary what's it called, like awesome, well thought out achievement in the sense of like capturing Edgar Rice Burroughs' science fiction writings, because this is based on an old ass novel from 1912. So yeah, the movie is written by or directed by Andrew Stanton, who I think was really popular or really important at the time, because he was someone at Pixar, if I remember correctly. I think he worked on Bug's Life and something else. I don't really remember, but I do know that he is connected to movies that I really, really loved as a kid, because Bug's Life was awesome, man. It was a really great movie. And he apparently was a big fan of John Carter of Mars, and eventually was given the opportunity by one of the bigwigs at Disney at the time to make this movie. And I think that the lack of success from this movie comes from the fact that in the same year, Disney acquired Star Wars. So why would you bother trying to build a new IP when you have the biggest science fiction IP ever already at your disposal? Just scrap this project, don't give it any marketing, and let it die, right? And I think that's really what happened. I'm not too sure. I've seen quite a few videos suggest this is the case, and I think there's a book called John Carter and the Gods of Hollywood, which actually details this, but I haven't read it personally, so I can't really tell you if that's actually what happened. But yeah, there's this kind of sad situation around this movie that leads to it not getting the marketing campaign that it deserved, and because no one knew about it, no one wanted to watch it, except me, because I saw a movie poster of it at the movie theater that we used to go to very often, because at that time, I remember going to the movie theaters at least once a month with my family. It was like one of our family activities. I remember I saw the poster and I was like really captivated by it. We went to watch the movie, and then I immediately had to buy the books, and I bought this Kindle set of books. It's this really dark orange cover. It says John Carter of Mars on it, and it had all 11 Barsoom books. I think I read the first 8 or 9, and after that I lost interest because I literally read all of them in a row, and so I was kind of bored of the concept, so I moved away from them, and then I didn't come back to Edgar Rice Burroughs until much later, when I bought some other copies of the books, the physical copies. But yeah, I was really bored one day, a few days ago, and I decided to put this on and see how it stacked up. I thought, maybe it's because I was like 10 years old at the time, and I thought it was good because, oh, cool, it's spacey, and there's this interesting group of characters, right? Because the main time spent on Mars is actually with the Tarks, with the green men of Mars, instead of with the red Martians. So yeah, and I decided to watch it, and it's really, really good. It's like actually a great movie. I think that some people might say that the plot points are confusing, because it starts somewhere and then it starts again somewhere else, and then the story connects, and then at the end there's a big dump of exposition. But I think that that's really not that weird. I think that it's just that at this point we're used to very simplistic Marvel style storylines where main character, evil version of main character fight, and at the end they have a big fight and it ends and the good guy wins, right? This movie is a little bit more involved than that, but it is not really that difficult to understand. It's really simple. It's really easy to get. You have John Carter of Mars, or John Carter at the time. He is a cavalryman. He was a Confederate, and he's done with the military. He's out in Arizona prospecting for gold. He's trying to find gold. He's looking for this cave of gold that he has heard the native Apaches talking about. And as he's trying to do that, he gets called back to his army, and he decides to try to escape. So he ends up in conflict with them, and he tries to escape into the Arizona desert. Eventually ends up in a cave, and this cave turned out to be the one he was looking for. And he gets attacked by this this person in gray robes, kills the person, and as they're activating something, he gets astral projected to Mars. And in Mars, he figures out that he can't move the same way, and so there's this moment of like moonwalking, like, you know, that epic like scene of like the astronauts going down onto the moon and then jumping on the moon. That's like so iconic that they even made a bit of it in the Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase movie that I saw a long time ago. I really liked that movie when I was a kid. But yeah, he's doing that for a few minutes as he's trying to figure out, you know, what the hell's going on, where am I, what the heck, what the fuck, right? And he sees these structures, and he goes to see these structures, and then these baby Tarks are born. These baby green Martians that are, well, I don't know, they just look like Shrek with like tusks. It's really cute. I don't know. And he sees a bunch of Tarks going his way, and the main guy, the Tars Tarkas, the leader of the Green Men of Mars, or at least this tribe of Green Men, realizes that this guy is special. And he tries to communicate with him. Obviously, there's a barrier. None of them understand each other. But Tars Tarkas notices that this guy jumps really high. And he's like, come on, man, jump. You know, he does this thing, and he keeps saying "sak," which is jump in Martian language. And he eventually gets him to do it. And then they capture him because he's an interesting specimen. And Tars Tarkas thinks that he's going to be a meaningful aspect to their tribe and to their fight against the Warhoons and the Torkas, which are two other Green Men of Mars tribes, right? And eventually, there's this other plot line with the Sedangans, which are red Martians, versus the city of Helium, and they're fighting each other. And Sedangans have an extra powerful kind of weapon of mass destruction, and they're using it to erase all of the cities that are against them, and Helium is trying to oppose them, but Helium is also getting destroyed. Eventually, the Sedangan prince, I can't remember his name, Sabthan, I think, says that he'll stop if Dejatoris, the daughter of the Jeddak, the chieftain of Helium, marries Sabthan. And so, against her wishes, she's told that she has to do that. So she escapes, and she's being chased down by Sabthan, and eventually ends up in the hands of John Carter of Mars, who sees her, realizes that it's a beautiful woman, and has this gentlemanly urge, because, you know, Edgar Rice Burroughs was from 1912, and that was kind of a thing that was like good to do at that point, to be this like, oh, women are weak, we gotta protect them kind of idea. So he goes to save her, and then realizes that she can also fight, and they have this really funny exchange, and then they start falling in love, as is standard for Edgar Rice Burroughs type things, and they actually end up traveling somewhere else with one of the Green Martians, Sola, because she was kind of banished from her tribe because she did something wrong, which was let John Carter and Dejatoris into their temple. And it's a little bit of a travel kind of log thing for a little bit, and then we have this major conflict where they're fighting the Sedangans, and then the Tarks help him, and then he ends up fighting the Warhoons for a while, which is a really awesome scene. And then there's this gladiatorial match against these white apes. Really cool stuff. Overall, it's a really awesome movie, and a lot of things that you've seen in other sci-fi movies are done here as well in very like cool ways, and it's really awesome because at the end of the day, John Carter of Mars is the guy, the character that inspired so many others. Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Superman, all of these characters are inspired by John Carter of Mars, and the John Carter of Mars styling of sci-fi also then turned into inspiration for Star Wars. And even in one of the recent Book of Boba Fett episodes, Boba Fett fights this monster in Tatooine that literally looks exactly like a Green Martian. Especially from old paintings of Green Martians that were used for cover art for the old versions of the books. Not necessarily the John Carter of movie versions, but it's really, really good stuff, man. Like, it's really well made. There's this awesome, Coliseum scene, very similar to this scene in Attack of the Clones. There's these really interesting, mechanical things that are very similar to things we saw in the recent Dune movie. And it's really, really good stuff. I really enjoy it. The plotline isn't directly correlated to the plot of the first book of John Carter, The Princess of Mars, but it is close enough that you kind of like let it pass, because I think the major villains of all of John Carter, of all of the Barsoom series, are the Therns, and they're not introduced until novel 2, but they introduced them early here and use them as a kind of like evil mastermind kind of thing that then are directly always going to be in opposition with John Carter of Mars. So really good stuff. The CGI looks great. Honestly, the CGI for the creatures and characters is top notch. It looks amazing. There really is nothing wrong with it. The only CGI that looks kind of bad, and when I say bad, I mean like I just notice it, is the CGI involved in John Carter's movements. Like when he jumps really high, it's very clearly CGI. When he's doing some of the piloting on some of these, like swoop bikes, kind of similar to the ones we see in Attack of the Clones, that's also very noticeably CGI. But literally everything else is not, and it's really, really good. Like, it just looks amazing. It's a great movie, and I definitely think that you guys should check it out. If you like sci-fantasy and sci-fi stories in general, it's a really good one, and I definitely recommend it. And, there's even a cute, ugly, like, alien dog called Woola. So there's really, really good stuff here, and I'm just sad that there really is nothing else coming out of this story. And I think it would be really great if someone ends up picking it up and making it a TV show. I do think that TV shows are better than movies in general. And the way things are going now, with these massive shows that have gigantic budgets, like Game of Thrones and The Rings of Power, and maybe even Andor. I think Andor has a pretty big budget compared to all the other Star Wars shows. I think it's really important that we also look at older, very old IP that is meaningful, and especially like Edgar Rice Burroughs, specifically because he was an American author. This is part of American, like, literature. Depends on how you want to define literature, right? But this is very clearly very meaningful American pop culture that inspired so many other things, and it's really sad to just see it, kind of put to the wayside and never used. And I think it's a really good show. It should really be developed and worked on. And I think animation is better for science fiction and fantasy in general, because it just is easier and it makes it more believable, because we notice the CGI effects and the uncanny valley kind of thing a lot less in animation, I think. But if it was a TV show, a live action version TV show, it would be really great. I would love to see it in by HBO. I think they would do a great job, and I think that they do need something else other than Game of Thrones to kind of fill out their genre fiction kind of side of things. But yeah, it was a great movie. I definitely recommend you guys watch it. And if you watch it and you like it, definitely check out all of the other amazing things that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote, because he did a lot of great stuff. He did like 90 novels. 25 of them alone were about Tarzan. 10 of them were for John Carter of Mars. And then he has like 3 or 4 other sci-fi series that are just all really, really great. So yeah, that's all I have to say about John Carter. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.